We're back to Chapter 5, Video 18, and in this video we're going to have a look at some new controls here for opening files and saving files. And these two controls right here are used all the time when you're trying to import files or export files. And as we saw in this example up here, we are starting to create a file, and we're also retrieving information from a file. So the concepts that we're going to explain here will then eventually connect these two kind of things together. So I could open up a new file possibly. So I could have maybe files for different students, and I could list all the courses for different students, for example. So to get started, in my code right here, I've got a save. I'm going to start with the save button right here. And basically to do that, I have to add a control to my form right here called the Save File Dialog box. So to do that, it's a control, so it's in the toolbox. So if we go into our toolbox and we click on our form and I stop the debugger, this should work. Now let's go back in here. I do this all the time. There we go. And if you think about which drawer in the toolbox would the open and close dialog box be, well, there's a drawer here full of dialog box controls. So I've simply just put in a file and a open dialog control in here. And basically when I do that, it's not a form control, it's a system control that sits in the background. That's why it's placed in this little area down here. Now when I click on it, you'll notice over here it's called the Save File Dialog 1. There's only one in this particular application. I really don't need to change it. File name, none of the other properties in this example really need to be touched. So the properties are pretty much safe on that one right there. So from here, if I go inside and have a look at what I'm actually doing, it means that when I click on this save button right here, let's click on that save button here, it opens up the save. When I click the button save, all I'm getting it to do in this example is say, let's take that control called the Save File Dialog 1, that's this one here, and let's execute a method. So we want to do something which is a method, and I want to show the dialog box. There's no argument because you're just showing it. So when I run the program, like let's compile it, run it, and all right, here's our program. When I click Save, what it's going to do is simply going to open this Save Dialog box, and this dialog box is a control that we can access. And you guys have seen this so many times where it says Save As, and we could type in the name of a file here, and we could use that information, and we could either click Save or Cancel. All right, so in my example, I don't have any code in here to do that, so I just say Cancel. So if you look at the code again, all I'm doing in this example is the first step, which is just showing the dialog box. Okay, and again, when I click on this, it just simply opens and shows the dialog box. And then in a later example, we'll look at how we can input information either by clicking on it for input, or we can actually type in the course we want, type in the pathway. So basically, this is a tool by locating a file in one of the storage devices, giving it a name to locate. Once I click on Save, it'll take some file information and it will write it to that location. But in this example, I just have Cancel. All right, so that's an example of how the Save button works. We'll come back and we'll look at a little bit further about how we can open a file a little bit more.